Hi, sir. How are you?
I'm doing good. David, how are you today?
Good to hear from you. Good, good, good. Nice to see you.
Nice meeting you today. How's your day so far?
That's good. I'm in Italy, and it's kind of a cold, wet, rainy day, but normal for this time of year.
Wonderful, wonderful, wonderful.
Where are
So
you?
I'm from India, David.
Ah, where in India?
I'm from the deep south, in the Indian Ocean, closer to the Indian
Ah,
Ocean.
it's one of my dreams is to go to India before I die. I want to see the
Wow,
country.
it will be amazing to have you here, David.
Yeah, be great, man.
Yeah.
I want to see elephants and tigers, and I want
Wow.
to see your history.
Wonderful, wonderful, David. Nice to
Yeah,
hear that.
yeah,
Nice to hear that.
yeah, yeah.
So, David, on October 29th, you released Blacklist Utopia with your solo band. So, can you tell me a bit about the songwriting and the production behind this album?
Yeah, this the album before was called Cacophony of Souls, and that was a major writing partnership with Andy Susamil.
Mhm.
On this album, Andy was when we were locked down, of course, during COVID, and we lost all of our shows. So my bass player called me and said, "We have to do something." I said, "Well, let's write some songs." And he said, "I have a lot of stuff that many people don't want to hear, because a lot of times the guitar player and the singer write everything." And I said, "Send me some tracks. Let's see what you got." And he sent me 4 or 5 that are on the album. I think To the Core, Save Me, Hindsight. I was blown away that he had that writing talent. So we just started writing songs, and I think we wrote together 85% of the record. And while we were doing it, of course, Andy was doing a solo album, and then he called and said, "Hey, I want to be part of this writing thing." I said, "What do you got?" And he had the music for I Can't Breathe, American Dream, and I think Red Blooded Hellraiser. So the writing process probably took no more than a month, and I would sing in the phone the ideas, and then when we were able to get out of the house, I started using a little local studio close to my house that I'd never used before. So I pretty much sang everything there. And because the other studio I used was an hour from my home, and we still couldn't travel to that region. So it was a very, very quick process. The longest was the mixing, because we got Francesco Giovino now in the band on drums, and he was unhappy with the mixes, so that was going back and forth for weeks. And I was in Denmark at the time, working my normal job, so I was fairly unaware that they were trying to get that right sound. But I think Andy did a fabulous job on guitar and producing. He's a fantastic artist all the way around.
Wonderful, wonderful, David.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
and was there any concept that was based on this album?
Concept.
Yeah.
Yeah, I have to be honest, I was affected by, the COVID outbreak. I didn't really know what to believe. It seemed that one week the world was coming to an end, and the next week everything was getting better. And then the vaccinations and being in line for that. And then politically, my country in America went crazy, of course. So the title, I found during last year doing press for Cacophony of Souls, somehow I was labeled a racist in a chat room, because I have conservative thinking. I'm not ashamed of it. I lean kind of middle right in my political views, and somebody picked up on it that I was a racist, which is absurd, because over 90% of my family is mixed race, American Indian,
Yeah.
African American, Mexican. I mean, I've never even thought like that. And I started getting really angry with this cancel culture. It was like everybody was attacking everybody, left, right, middle. And so I was thinking, okay, if we all decide to go with what this crowd says, this crowd will blacklist us. And I always kind of visioned that, what kind of a utopia is everybody seeking to find? And my idea was, I don't think even if they attain that utopia that they'll be satisfied. It seems like everybody's just kind of floating in air, and they think they know what they want, but they're kind of lost in the media thing. And that's where the concept came from. And lyrically, okay, hindsight is 2020 is about looking back over last year. Red-Blooded Hellraiser, that's a standard rock song. You know, that's me just kind of Americanized, and Highway Child, songs like that. But then you have Civil War, and I believe in America, from what I see, there are places, certain states in America that want to secede from the Union and call themselves like the United States of California or Texas, or so that's kind of what that is. I wrote that song with Roland Grappow from Halloween, and he played all the guitars on it. So yeah, there are some political messages, but the song I Can't Breathe, it's not about George Floyd and being murdered by the police. That one is about me being choked by all of these opinions and these keyboard warriors on the internet and the fighting that goes on. You know, I mean, most of these men wouldn't say it to your face. They can do it on a computer, and they can literally attack you for things that are not so untrue that and then it spreads like a disease.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's got some leanings towards that, but to me, it's a rock and roll album, and I don't write lyrics that are cliche. I try to as a lyricist write about what I'm seeing and hearing and talking to people about. Like you and I, if we have a discussion about India, maybe I'd be inspired by a city in India, and what do they do there? And then I write a few notes, and then I'm inspired to look on Google and study the country and go, oh, that's cool. I didn't know that religion was in that region, or blah, 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 you know? That's the kind of writer I am. I stay away from the whoa, whoa, baby, baby lyric thing. I still do it when it's needed, but I like to write stories, and it's all subjective. You know, one person may think, oh, he's talking about George Floyd. And then one person will say, no, I get what you're saying. I feel the same way. So it's interpretation. And then that's what music is, isn't it? I mean,
absolutely.
There's dark moments on the album, and then there's positive moments on the album.
Beautiful, David, beautiful. And there's one more album coming out from you with this band, Liquor Sensation, called Outbreak on December 17th. So can you tell me a bit about this album and the making of it?
Yeah, it's I did the album Adrenaline Rush with Wicked Sensation in 2014.
Yeah.
And that was kind of I was still in Montana, and Michael Klein reached out to me and sent me the music, and you know, said, can you write some lyrics with me, and would you do this? And amazingly, those guys are really talented songwriters. He and Zhang Bong are the leaders of the band. Zhang is Chinese German, and during the lockdown, I was very blessed because I was sitting here wondering, how am I going to survive this? You know, I had jobs in other countries, day jobs, but I couldn't travel. So they called me and they said, hey, we're going to do another album. Would you be interested in singing on it and writing with it? And I said, let me hear what you got. And I think this album, Outbreak, is a step above Adrenaline Rush. Have you heard it?
Yes, I did.
It's amazing, huh?
I love it.
It's fantastic, and I'm very proud of it. It's getting a lot of traction, the video, Starbreaker.
Yeah.
I'm pretty excited about that. I respect those guys highly. I don't know if it's going to be a touring band, because nobody really knows who they are. So hopefully this album opens the door for them. I know that Rock of Angels Records is really pushing them. So I hope that we can go out and play next year, because those guys are great, man. I mean, Michael is, his melody ideas are fantastic. I mean, he could sing into a phone, kind of like what he was thinking for the lyrics. And then you have Dennis Ward producing it. So then you have the cream on the top, you know, for this style of rock. So yeah, it's a great album. Thank you for asking. I'm really excited about it.
Wonderful, wonderful, David. And then we talked about the video Starbreaker, which came out on November 5th. So it is an amazing video you guys made up together. And would you like to tell me how this video came up and what was the production behind this video?
Those guys found an old stone rock quarry in Germany, and we literally shot 3 videos that weekend. We did Friday. I flew in Friday. We rehearsed the lyrics together and kind of played along. We drove out to the rock quarry. There were, I think, a drone was there, and Zhang, the guitar player, did most of the filming and the production. I mean, I couldn't believe how talented he was. And he spent a fortune in effects and everything to really make it special. It was just a bunch of people that knew the band. That a lot of them were emergency medical technicians that worked with some of the guys in the band. So they had the day off and they came out. They even had medical supplies. It was done like the old days, like when you had a production crew. And we shot for about 8 hours. And the next day, we shot another one on top of a mountain, which is actually the rubble from the war in a city called Pforzheim. They basically bombed it to the ground in World War II, and they just piled up this mountain with the old buildings and, of course, people and everything that goes along with war. And they built this monument on top of 5 metal posts, and Zhang found that as a location. So we filmed there. We got there at 4 a.m. and we started filming right when the sun started to rise. It's freezing out cold. But that's another great video that comes out, I think, December 1st. And then there's one more that we shot in a studio at Zhang's house. So we shot 3 videos in roughly 2 days. I left on Friday, came home Monday.
Wow.
But they did it right. I mean, you know, they bought the cameras, they studied technology, and of course you've got a song like Starbreaker, you know, the Time Walker guy, he's an emergency medical technician. He designed that costume himself with the 2019, the leather and everything. I mean, he showed up ready for war, you know, and I'm like, who's that guy? And they go, that's the Time Walker. And I go, what is he going to do? And then I started watching them film, and it was fabulous.
It's amazing, David, amazing. And
Yeah.
And you guys have any touring scheduled to be anytime sooner?
Wicked Sensation.
Yeah, we could understand with your own band.
My band, we have been moved again and again. I just lost Holland in October and Spain for November. They've moved that to May, and I'm going to be playing with Victory as a double headliner. We can get into Herman Frank later if you like. That's another project I'm really excited about. And then a couple days ago, I started booking dates for November solo. But I just saw today that Accept postponed all touring until 2023. They lost January, February, March, 15 countries. Now they've moved it to another year, a year and a half from now. So it's everybody's guess, my friend. I mean, in Germany, they say COVID is exploding again right now. And I spoke with Herman today, and he was supposed to do the record release party on Friday night on a cruise ship in Hamburg. They canceled that. And he's probably going to lose January and February. He had about 3 weeks of shows. So it's a very difficult time.
Okay. And David, you have been singing and making music for decades now with Accept, BonFire, Bangalore Choir. There's so much bands, so much of projects. It's been a long journey for you. So how do you feel about the journey, and how good that you feel about making music all these years?
Well, I mean, I have to be honest. I'm only speaking to you because of Accept. That's what opened the door. I'm very grateful for that. Bangalore Choir was, you know, you have a city called Bangalore, but it meant Bangalore is also a military torpedo. And then those days we had 5 singers in the band, so it meant explosive vocals. So we signed a deal with Warner Brothers. Bad luck came 3 months after we released. Grunge took over, so the record company dropped us. You know, I've done a lot of projects, and most of the projects I've done at least 2 albums with. The problem with a lot of the projects that I did was they always say, yeah, we're going to play shows. And then I realized they're not really thinking past the album, you know. Yeah. They always have family commitments and all this stuff. And I always wanted to keep touring because I kind of retired for a few years. I left music because I was sick of it, the business. And and everything. But I'm proud of the legacy of work. I'm lucky to be able to keep singing strong. I'm a healthy, clean person. I don't drink. I think that has a lot to do with the survival that I've had. Going solo, I wanted to be in less of a democratic society, because I learned in bands there's no truth in democracy. There's always one or two guys that lead, and you may not always agree with their way of doing things. You know, BonFire is a regret for me. I should have never done that group. I'm proud of the album Glorious, very proud of it. It sold really well. We did probably, in the 3 years I was in the band, 350 shows. It ended badly between us, but you know, you can get labeled as jumping around to too many projects, like the guy for hire, like, you know, Goran Edman or all these guys. And I wanted to get away from that. So I talked to my manager. I said, what do I do? And he said, go back heavy. That's what people expect from you, like accept, eat the heat. So that's why my solo albums, Brazilian Heart was more of a hard rock, getting heavy, and then Cacophony really was heavy, and this one's even heavier. Although I do want to be in a band that's going to tour. Solo wise, it's frankly, as a solo artist, unless you're a legend like Udo or Doro or someone like that, they can draw 500 people. My level is 200 to 300. So it's difficult to book shows for money that you can survive on to go on the road. So I realized, if you want me to lead into the next segment, I can tell you a little about Herman Frank. Herman also contacted me last summer and said, hey, we were in the same band at different times. And the funny thing was, I never met Herman. I mean, I would play shows and he would be on the bill with Victory or Herman Frank, but we would always miss each other. I wanted to say, hi, you know, I want to meet you. And well, he wrote me and said, would you be interested in writing and seeing if something works? And I said, yeah, good idea, because you need named people in a band so the promoters say, yes, we'll book that. So we wrote about 3 songs together, and he said, this is great. We need a great bass player and a drummer. So we hooked up with Donnie Van Stavern from Riot. Yeah. He's the bass player, and Francesco Giovino on drums. Now we're going to get another guitar player for touring, but we don't know who. We're waiting until we sign the record deal. And right now it's very crazy, because about 3 times a week I get asked by agencies, hey, can we book you? And we're not ready yet. So I know that the power of the members of the band is going to be very appealing. Plus the songs are kick ass. I mean, it's Accept, it's Riot, it's David Reece, it's Herman Frank, it's everything. I mean, we could actually not have a record deal and play all our classics from our history and play for 2 hours. I mean, we all laughed about it. I said, hey, we could do Restless Breed. We could do, you know, all these songs. We could do Restless and Wild. We could do Balls to the Wall. We could do my song. I mean, we could have a set for 90 minutes, 110 minutes, you know, but we said, no, let's go out as a real band. So I kind of contradicted myself by saying the democracy thing in a band, because frankly, Herman and I and the rest of the guys are old enough to know what it takes to make something work. You know, we're all on the same page. And I really look forward to that. So
sounds great.
Are you aware of the project I did with Jimmy Waldo?
Oh, no, I was not.
Okay, there's a guy named Steve Rosen. Maybe you know his name.
Yeah.
He does a lot of interviews, right? He's on YouTube. Well, he's also a guitar player. And when he was working for, I think it was Guitar World, or I think that was and Rolling Stone, he would interview Eddie and Richie Blackthorne and Steve Vai and all those guys and say, one day I'm going to make an album and I want you to play on it. They're like, yeah. Well, okay, we'll do it. Well, Jimmy Waldo called me and said, Steve's ready to do a record. Would you be the singer? And I said, let me hear the songs. It's more hard rock style, driven, more melodic. Yeah. But the great thing about it is I wrote 9 of the songs with those guys. We did 2 Blackthorne songs. I re-sang Graham Bonnet's parts because Bob Kulick had just died. And I found out when I was getting the mixes, there's Paul Gilbert, Joe Satriani, Bumblefoot, there's this plethora of great guitar players playing on my songs.
Well,
So it's like, I mean, I'm in a room full of kings, you know. I listen to each song and I go, oh, that's Satriani. Oh, that's Gilbert. Oh, that's Zach Wilde. You can tell, you know.
yeah,
So that's something, it's kind of a project. It's called Highway Sentinels, and that'll probably come out next year.
sounds
So
amazing.
I've been really busy. I've been really busy. I also did a record for the Bulgarian band John Steele, which just got signed. That's coming out. I've done a bunch of shows with them, and they asked me to write a record with them, and I did that a year and a half ago, and it finally got signed like last week. And then I'm doing a kind of an AOR thing with an Italian guitarist named Stefano Viana, and Francesco's playing drums on that. So I think in the year and a half that I've been sitting at home, I recorded 6 or 7 albums.
Wow.
I mean, there's probably, it's unbelievable. It's like 90 songs that I've written, but it's healthy, you know. I mean, I said the project thing earlier, but when you're sitting here thinking, okay, I can go to Denmark for only 90 days and I work on roofs, you know, I got to feed my kids and my wife. I got to pay for this house. So I took those challenges, but I was selective about it. I didn't just take everything that was coming, you know. So, and I was offered a lot of jobs, and I was like, nah, this is not really me, you know, no, thank you. But some of them paid fairly reasonably, and it brought me to a level like working with Satriani and those guys. Of course, I'm going to do it.
Amazing.
Yeah.
And David, how do you manage to do so much of bands and projects, and how did you get all this time to do it?
I don't know. It's like I just stay focused. I was doing an interview a few weeks ago, and they asked me the same thing, and I had this thought. My brain is like full of squirrels, and it's like they're all running around with ideas over here, storing nuts here, here, and here, and here, because maybe I'm crazy. But I was really lucky because I think COVID, one benefit of it was such an isolated time that I really just sat down and went, okay, I'm going to create. And, you know, you're not touring, because if you're touring, that, you know, you want to write songs, but you're moving so fast, there's not much time to do it. So being at home was a good thing in a way, because I just stayed focused, and the more I write, the easier it is. Yeah. And I like to read. I like to, if I watch the television, or if somebody like you says a certain word, it sticks in my head. I write it down, and I make a story out of it. Yeah.
Amazing, amazing, David, amazing.
It's crazy.
And have you ever thought, or have you ever started giving vocal lessons to any students so far?
I've done it. I've had one great student in my life, and I took vocal lessons as a young man. As an older man, you know, I started noticing a change in my voice about 10 years ago. So I wanted to work through the limits, and, you know, the good and the bad, and, you know, keep going strong. But I had one guy that was fabulous. But to be honest, the majority of my students, I did it in Minneapolis for a while. I had a little studio, and they would come to rehearsal, and I would give a simple list of 5 steps of, you know, rehearsal steps. And most singers will come in and do step 1, and then they'll go to step 3, and then step 5. And then you'll say, okay, we're going to work on level 2 right now. And they go like, what's that? And I said, I gave you the book. But this guy, and they wanted to talk about rock and roll history. They wanted to know who I met, you know, and I said, we're not here to talk about that. We're here to work on your voice. And you work with a lot of people that are basically tone deaf, you know, and you can't fix an ear. You have to naturally know keys and pitch. I mean, if you sing off key on songs and stuff on a record, and the performance is great, and there's some bad notes, keep it. That's great, because it's real. But some people are just deaf. They can't sing, and they think they can. So you have to, it's difficult for me to be honest. I have to say, okay, I'm not going to take your money. I can't teach you. You need to work on this, you know, go to a guitar and play piano or whatever. Work on your pitch. That's number 1. But this other kid, Sean, I mean, he came prepared, and he really got great over about 2 months. But I really don't like doing it. If maybe if I was like some famous vocal teacher, I would get all the great guys, you know, that want to improve. But it's a stressful job. I know a lot of guitar players that have been teaching the last 18 months to eat, you know, to pay their rent. And they have 10, 15 guys a day coming in their house. And by the time the day is finished, they don't even want to look at a guitar. You know, it's, you know, you know, scales and you know. And another thing about guitar players is there's so many young, great, brilliant guitar players. If they like your guitar playing, sometimes they're better than the teacher. So you have to say, what do you want me to show you? I mean, you've got it figured out. You need to find out who you are as a guitar player. You know, you've got it. I can't play like that. And they're like, oh, but you're great at this, and I want to learn how to, you know, just play. You know.
Oh, so
Funny.
yeah. Uh, and David, would you like to share some of the great moments that is always on your mind with me today?
When I got in Accept, that was like a nightmare and a wonderful dream at the same time. I had been in California for about 2 years, and I was homeless. And I had met Mitch Perry from Tallis and Michael Schenker, and we demoed a bunch of songs together. And I had no clue how to write lyrics and sing. I mean, but it came out pretty good, you know. And I was actually staying at my friend's house, sleeping on a wooden floor in front of a gas stove to keep warm, because we were down on the beach and it's cold at night, you know, on the beach, you know that. Yeah. And I said one day, I've had enough. And at the time, my family had moved to Colorado. And I just said, I'm coming home. So I jumped on a Greyhound bus and I went home. And Dieter Dierks, the producer of Scorpions, was doing the new Accept album. He went to that woman's house because he was kind of dating her and said, I'm really in a bad situation. They had a singer named Robert Armitage for a while, an English guy. And he goes, it's not working. This guy doesn't have it. I need a singer. And he said, listen to this guy. And they put the cassette in and he said, that's the guy. Where is he? She goes, I don't know. He left like a week ago. He went to Colorado. He said, find him. So they found me. And I got a phone call one night from Wolf Hoffman. And at first I didn't believe it was him. I thought it was a joke. And he said, I really like your demo. Would you be interested in auditioning? Can you come to Germany? Wow. You know, I've only been to Canada. I'd never been outside of North America. So it was an adventure. So a couple of days later, I was on an airplane to Dusseldorf. But when you go from the clubs into the big leagues, you think you know everything, right? I was completely wrong. I mean, the first day I was there, they put me in a studio and had riffs and ideas and said, start writing and singing. I'm like, what? You know, and they're like, this is how it works. We got here because we worked hard. And I respect them for that because they have worked their ass off. So that was, you know, a magical story. And then the final audition was a live gig. And they invited a lot of famous people to watch me. And I kind of thought, well, if I don't make this audition, this final audition tonight, after 3 months, I'm going home tomorrow. So I'm going to give it everything I got. And everybody said, that's the guy. There's about 1,000 people in the club. They advertised it under a different name in Cologne. And everybody knew it was Accept. So they came to party and have a good time. And it was a great gig. The place went crazy. So the next morning, I was expecting to be told, you know, thank you for your time, go home. But they said, welcome to Accept. So that was a groundbreaking break for me. I was 27 or 28, maybe. And yeah, that was magic. And then when I left Accept, I went to LA again. And I played 9 shows with Bangalore Choir. And I had an offer after 9 shows from every major label in California. Now, 9 shows is like a year in California. You don't play every night, you know, you play once every 2 months, you know, you don't, there's so many bands and so many actors but I mean, it was pretty impressive. So that was a major thing for me because I said, I'll show Accept I can still survive this, and signed a major record deal with Warner Brothers. I mean, it was amazing, but there's been a lot of bad times too. I mean, grunge, COVID,
Yeah.
digital, downloading. I mean, I didn't know that about streaming or people stealing, loading up your music, because I didn't have a computer. And when I got away from music, I finally got one. And when I went online and realized what happened to the music business, people are stealing my songs. I mean, they're downloading them for free. It was horrible. It was like, if you leave the keys in your car and in the yard and somebody drives it away and they say, well, I took it because it was there. Well, that's stealing. That's a negative in the business. But there's a lot of great memories. I mean, I'm 61 years old. I've been doing this since 1977.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, yeah. I mean, I was playing Led Zeppelin songs and Rainbow songs and Thin Lizzy songs in the clubs and ZZ Top songs 7 nights a week for years before I got the break from Accept, because I left Minneapolis thinking I'm going to LA. If the band doesn't want to go, I'm going because I want to make it. When I got out to LA, there's a bunch of great guys out there that are doing the same thing. They're trying to make it. So I got eaten by the sharks, basically, and I had to leave. And then I got lucky because Accept contacted me. But yeah, that's one of my best memories.
Amazing. And you have been with a lot of bands, a lot of projects, and everything is so amazing, whatever you have done so far. But what is that most special band or a project that is always on your heart, that means so special to you?
I got to be honest, it gets better now in the last 3 or 4 years than behind me. I mean, I'm a better singer now. I'm a better writer. I'm doing more of what I want to do. I'm really excited about Blacklist Utopia. I'm really excited about the Wicked Sensation album and the Sentinels album and this Iron Allies with Herman Frank. So I have 4 things that I really love right now. One day I would like to do an acoustic album with a piano and a guitar. And I don't know if I'm going to re-record my most known songs, re-record them, or if I'm going to write with a piano player and find out that color of my voice, because I know it's somewhere in there. I just know it needs to come out at the right time. Like today, I watched a documentary on the making of Wallflowers by Tom Petty, and I was stunned how beautiful his writing is. I mean, and the lyrics, and I know I need to do something like that. Get away from crushing my skull with metal and maybe sing softer and just show another color of my voice that I have. Because if you've noticed in the last few albums, I'm singing lower in some parts, and that is intentional and unintentional. It's, because live, you can't sing up here every night, 7 days a week. I like to show that David Bowie low register, Iggy Pop, sing like a man, because every minute is there's no melody there. I mean,
True.
You can scream your guts out in a studio, but go out and try to do it live every night. It's a whole different game.
It's crazy. And
Yeah.
and then finally, what would be the message that you want to give to your beautiful fans around the world?
First of all, do I have fans in India?
Absolutely.
I would love to come to India. I'm speaking to the Indian crowd now. Book me in India. I want to come see your beautiful country, your beautiful people. And if you're in a band and the only way you're going to break it and get out is to dedicate your whole life to that circle. And if you're not fully committed to what you are doing, it's not going to happen. It may be a photograph like this on the wall, or you can put it like this. Okay. When the photo is hanging like so, it's because you're not giving it everything. And that's one thing I would like to say to the artists out there. There's a lot of incredible music that comes out of India. Some of the greatest players in the world, like Jimmy Page, and many guys travel to learn from the masters. So if that's something I can say to the people, yeah. And thank you. Thank you to you. Thank you to rock and roll. Live it, man.
Amazing, amazing, David. And David, first of all, I want to thank you so much for giving me this opportunity to talk to you
Thank
today on
you.
this interview. It's a real
Thank
pleasure and
you.
honor for me. And thanks again for the amazing music that you've been giving for decades now. It's a real pleasure for me to grow along with your music, listening to what you have been doing all those years. And thanks for that.
Thank you very much.
And thanks for this amazing music for the metal fraternity and the rock fraternity around the world. Thanks again. And you have a great day out there, David.
God bless you, my brother. And
Bless you.
hopefully one day I can play India. And if I do, come see me and we'll hang out.
Sure.
And you gotta show me some great food and some of the countryside. And when we get these next albums coming out with Iron Allies and stuff, let's do some interviews about that. And if
Surely.
you need a link to that stuff,
Yeah.
I'll hook you up.
Surely, David will do that. Thank you so
Okay.
much.
Thank you,
have a
brother.
great day. Take care.
Ciao.
Bye-bye. Bye. Sure.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.